within the Presidential Retirement Benefits Act that Section 6 restricts a retired president from active engagement in political party activities beyond a prescribed period, of which
6 months.
6 months, of which President Uhuru Kenyatta has already done so. He's a party leader of Jubilee, and he's done so openly. He's attended Jubilee party events, meaning that he's actively involved in politics. Now come to Section 151 of the Constitution. Article 151, yes, the retirement benefits payable to a former president and a former deputy president. The facilities available to and privileges enjoyed by them shall not be varied to their disadvantage during their lifetime. So which takes precedence?
The Constitution.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I wholly agree with what Hezbon has said. This is a misadventure which Kenya Kwanza and very likely President Ruto, stung by the remarks that Uhuru made on telephone, no less. I mean, he wasn't there physically in Narok or Kajiado or any other place. He made an expression so that the conflict between Section 4, subsection 1, A, Roman 1, 2 of the Presidential Retirement Benefits Act and Article 38, 1 of the Constitution, as read with Article 151, you can see that conflict will be resolved in favor of the Constitution, because then the Constitution says that there is no law, there is no act, no omission that is outside or in conflict with the Constitution that can be valid. To that extent, Cherargei is on a fatal, perilous, I should add, misadventure. Because the moment he takes that path, just like Hezbon has said, this is going to generate a very negative domino effect on the Kenya Kwanza government. Because the Kenyans largely, and like Hezbon has said, out there in the streets, out there among the Kenyan people, there is this dissatisfaction with the political leadership, which they are blind to. And you now juxtapose that, you put that against Cherargei's remarks, which make you wonder, I mean, don't these people have any face-saving grace or the ability to just sit down and reflect? I mean, what will be this? I mean, they're jumping into it headlong, not aware that this is going to cost them huge political capital. And they go on to it. However, excuse me, I think the action of the president, coupled with Jubilee in Narok and the face of Matiang'i there, brought these nightmare experiences which Ruto had. Suddenly, a wound that had festered during the last period of Uhuru's reign, or Uhuru's tenure, I should say, then opened. Because if you remember, towards the end of Uhuru's tenure, he felt let down by a deputy president, who he was then saying, all you do is go out there, tanga. And President Uhuru felt let down in the sense that President Uhuru, URP and TNA, they had said that, look, we will form this political behemoth, that we will go out there, 10 years for you and 10 years for me. And so Uhuru had played out that in the 10-year period. And so he becomes extremely flustered and, should I say, frustrated by this deputy president who, come on, don't you have the promise of 10 years? So why would you go out there and I'm going to campaign for you, or at least Obama style, Clinton and the likes, and I'm going to, ensure that you have your tenure, and I'll keep to that. And so Ruto, unsurprisingly, then came back and told the Mount Kenya people, I have to remind you, you have this promise. So against that, Uhuru felt, and in my humble view, very honestly and genuinely, let down by a deputy president who was not living up to the promise and the expectation that he had, legitimate expectation. So when he felt let down, he got Matiang'i. And Matiang'i's role was to fill in the gap that the deputy president, he likes or he doesn't, I mean, it's the honest truth. And that was because Uhuru wanted to deliver. And the deputy president viewed that as a rejection. So he came into the election period having these wounds. And in my humble view, he should have gone for counseling.
the president?
Yes, with tremendous respect. Because there were these psychological wounds that he had suffered. For 3 months, I should say that he shouldn't have.
So you feel this is a President William Ruto pushing for this?
Absolutely, absolutely. It bears all the signs and everything that, attaches. And coming from Cherargei, with tremendous respect to Cherargei, just like Hezbollah has said, Cherargei sometimes comes up with all these noble ideas that the Kenyan people would say, but his turnaround is also something that makes me question. I mean, how about the consistency of your own commitment to your own self in terms of personal integrity? Because he says, the deputy president, you should not be impeached. And then he turns around and says, for whatever reason, maybe he receives a telephone call from the president, yeah, you should be impeached. I mean, that inconsistency is not what I would expect of someone who has and bears that integrity at personal level. So now coming back to the issue that you asked, now, how do you reconcile Section 4, subsection 1, Roman 1, Roman 2, Roman 3 of the Presidential Retirement Benefits Act? What does he say? That the National Assembly can pass a resolution to strip the retired President Uhuru of his retirement benefits under that act. As specified in the schedule, you have to have 4 cooks, 4 drivers, and so on and so forth. There's a myriad of benefits that are there. How do you reconcile that power? And they have to have a 2/3 vote, by the way, according to the law. Article 38 of the Constitution, sub-article 1, which confers on the president the right to engage in, form a political party. The supremacy of the Constitution will trump as against this. Okay. And I believe any sensible legislator in the National Assembly will tell Cherargei, please down your tools immediately, because you swore to uphold the Constitution and its supremacy, which is binding on him. And I should remind him to read Article 3 of the Constitution, that it is binding upon him at that individual level. So in my humble view, the provisions of Section 4 of the Presidential Retirement Benefits Act is unconstitutional. And someone can go to court on behalf of the president. You cannot muzzle the political voice of the president using the instrumentality of Section 4 of the Presidential Retirement Benefits Act. And you'll be declared unconstitutional.
Okay. Bwana Gwanda, many would say then this is just a misadventure by Senator Cherargei. He's known to have even proposed the extension of